Where should I be marketing this summer?
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOPRENEUR. Welcome to the Everyday VOPRENEUR podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
Your voiceover demos are your number one marketing tool, and you need to display them on your website in a way that works on any device or browser. VoiceSam is the player producers love. Plus, it offers tools that can improve your email signature, quickly create a one-page website, and much more. Sign up now at voicesam.com/markscott and get 3 months of the base player for the price of one. That's voicesam.com/markscott for full details and to sign up.
The VOPRENEUR podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOPRENEUR.
Hello and welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur, ready to hit you with another Summer Series episode. What's the Summer Series all about? These episodes are designed to be short, quick hit episodes. Get you in, get you out, get you back to whatever you're doing this summer, but still providing you with some very serious, actionable, practical advice. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to remind you that all of the episodes are available in the archives on the website at VOPRENEUR.com, so go back, check it out. We're well over 100 episodes now, every one of them offering some seriously actionable, practical advice for your voiceover business. This week, I want to answer a listener question that came in that asked about where we should be marketing this summer. And I think it's a totally valid question, and I do have a few thoughts on it. Granted, I do not have a crystal ball, but I can look at what is going on in the world, and from that, I've made some assumptions that I think are relatively safe assumptions because I think they follow pretty sound logic and reasoning. So stick with me. Let's get into this. First and foremost, it's been a long 15 months, right? For much of the world, lockdowns, restrictions, all of these things have been a part of life in some capacity for the last 15 months. But thankfully, vaccinations are increasing and the world is slowly starting to open up again. Provinces, states, countries, you name it, things are starting to return towards something that is going to look like normal. Now, one of the predictions that I did make is that I think that this summer is going to be the summer of travel. I think that for everybody who has spent the last 15 months living in lockdown, as soon as there's an opportunity to go somewhere, I think we're going to go somewhere. And I think that we're already starting to see that, particularly in parts of the United States where it's almost impossible to book hotels and to book camping trips and stuff like that in certain areas because they're already booked up. The whole world is just ready to go on vacation after lockdown life. And because the whole world is ready to go on vacation, I think that it's reasonable to expect that we're going to see a little bit of a slowdown in voiceover in certain areas over the course of the summer, which is not all that uncommon. We see the summer slowdown every year, or at least I generally see a summer slowdown in my business because everybody is going on vacation. What I want to give you in this episode, though, I've been thinking about this, and I think there are 5 different sectors that you could market yourself to this summer where you still may be able to find some opportunities. And so let's dive into what those 5 different sectors are. First and foremost is anything travel related. What did I just say? This is going to be the summer of travel. Everybody wants to get out of the house. Everybody wants to go somewhere. The travel industry absolutely decimated by the pandemic around the globe. And so they're going to be looking to bring it back to life again. All of the different sectors within that industry as a whole are going to be looking to bring it back to life again. So I want you to be thinking about things like hotels, camps, trailer parks, national parks, state parks, provincial parks, those types of things. Airlines in particular. So all of these different areas, that anything that is related to travel. I have a feeling that there may be some opportunities there. They're going to be creating advertising. They want to be letting people know that they're back, that it's time to go again. And that could include advertising for traditional methods such as radio and television, but maybe also some video for social media and whatnot as well. So that's one big sector that needs to come back to life and is starting to come back to life. And I think there may be some opportunities there. Second sector that I would be keeping an eye on is anything tourism related. And I know travel and tourism kind of go together, but I've broken this down into a few different types of categories just to spark your thoughts. So I'm talking theme parks. I'm talking amusement parks, water parks, any kind of tourist attraction. What are the tourist attractions where you live? Where do people come? Museums could be a great example of that. So anything that has traditionally been what you would consider part of the tourism industry, and this is where thinking locally is going to help you, because you're going to be able to identify some places locally that you just know stand out. These are places that have suffered immensely throughout the pandemic when there was tons of travel restrictions and nobody was able to go anywhere. A lot of these places have been closed. Maybe they've only been able to be open online only, or they've been doing some stuff virtually, but they're ready to welcome people back again. So I would be looking at the tourism industry. The next one, I think this is pretty obvious, and that is anything that is food service related, but particularly we're talking about restaurants. Another industry that has absolutely been decimated by COVID and by not being able to bring people in. Now, I recognize that there are some restaurants in certain states that were, but in Canada, for the longest time, restaurants were closed. Restaurants still are not open to indoor dining in certain parts of the country in Canada. And so this is an area where when you've been closed that long, you're ready to bring people back. Now, I can't promise you there's going to be big advertising budgets there for some of these restaurants because they have suffered so immensely, but I do think that it's an area to look towards. And I think that some of the ones, particularly maybe some of the bigger chains, they're going to be opening up and they're going to want to let people know that they're back, which means there may be some opportunities there. Next up on the list, this is number 4, I think, is anything sports related. And I'm talking like Major League Baseball right through to the local batting cages, sports related. Sports complexes, swimming pools, splash pads, golf, tennis, anything that is outdoor summer sports related, because again, this is an area that has been closed in a lot of places. You see Major League Baseball finally starting to open up the stadiums and welcoming back crowds, but letting people know that they're coming back. And not only letting them know through commercial, but there's probably opportunities to let them know how this is all going to work. What are the rules when you get here? What are the procedures that have to be followed? And I'm going to add to this, even though it's not sports related necessarily, but we're talking about Major League Baseball. We're talking about large groups of people getting together. A lot of artists are starting to book concerts again. Stadium tours are going to start happening again, which means there's going to be advertising opportunities in the music sector, concert sector as well. And then the other thing that I would start keeping an eye on is home improvement. Now, last summer, I don't know where you're at, but where I'm at, last summer, the whole world built a deck. Like literally, I feel like I was the only guy in my neighborhood that didn't build a deck. Everybody was building decks and putting in pools last year because they were going to be stuck at home, and what else are they going to do? And then lumber prices went through the roof, like absolutely astronomical lumber prices. And a lot of people decided, you know what, maybe I don't need a deck so bad anymore. In June, lumber saw one of the largest single-month drops that it has seen in recent memory. And so the price of lumber over the next few months is slowly going to start returning to somewhat of a normal level. There's a lot of people are saying that it's never going to go back to the way it was pre-pandemic, but certainly coming back to a more reasonable price for dimensional lumber. And so I think that means that some people may start looking at decks and some people may start doing some home renovations. There are home builders, like entire companies of home builders, that shut down when lumber prices got too high because they said it wasn't worth it. They can't make a profit because they would have to pass on the cost of the house, which would be exponentially higher. So I think some of these places are going to start opening up again. And so what does that mean for you? Particularly on a local level, it's looking at who's doing the renovations. The local pool company, the fence and deck company, the home builder in your area. Are they going to be starting to ramp things up again, or are they going to want to let people know, hey, lumber's falling, maybe now's the time to do that deck again? And so I think that's another area where you could keep your eye out. So 5 different sectors where I think you could still market yourself this summer and maybe find some opportunities. Anything travel related, anything tourism related, anything food service, particularly restaurants, anything sports, but then I'll add to that large gatherings, so concerts could go into the mix with that as well, and anything that is home improvement and home building related. Those are some areas where you might be able to get out there make some connections, build some relationships, and potentially create some opportunities for yourself. If you got a question that you would like to have answered in an upcoming Summer Series episode, send an email off to mark@markscottvoiceover.com, and maybe your question will be addressed in the next episode of the podcast. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOPRENEUR.com.